Hi everyone, welcome to episode 3 of the Alien in the Courtroom series, a series aimed at helping young entrepreneurs and young startup businesses make better legal decisions for their brand. If this is your first time seeing my face, I am Jaleesa, your friendly neighborhood lawyer. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, my alien ally. Nice to have you here. Today's episode, we're talking about copyright law, debunking copyright law myths, and the difference between inspiration versus copying or outright stealing in both the art world and a little bit in the music world. So if you have any interest in what we're talking about, then just stay tuned. I remember learning back when I was in law school in fashion law that there was this myth that goes around that changing an artwork 2 or 3 times is enough to qualify that artwork as being original and therefore entitled to copyright protection. I remember thinking, no way that that goes around as a myth. Like, there's no way that that's a thing. But then recently, my best friend texted me, and my best friend went to a college that was arts focused, like a really good school. And he told me that he vaguely remembered hearing or learning about this 2 or 3 changes, original artwork thing. And he wasn't sure if he heard that it's true that you can change an artwork 2 or 3 times, or if it was false that changing an artwork 2 or 3 times wasn't original. We're going to address that topic in today's video. As always, it's important that I stress that these videos are intended for educational purposes only. In no way should you consider me to be your own personal lawyer. And if you have any really specific questions about your business, you should definitely seek outside counsel. As long as I feel like the question isn't getting too close to legal spiel, legal advice territory, I will do my best to answer your question or tell you to seek outside counsel. But this is only intended for educational purposes only. So I already have my laptop out. This is just to give you the most accurate information possible. And we're going to start off this video doing a little bit of a refresher on copyright law. You can go ahead and check out part 1 of this series where I discuss the differences between trademark, copyright, and patent law for a more in-depth discussion. But just a quick refresher for now, copyright law is concerned with the protection of original works of authorship. This can be pictorial, graphical, or sculptural. It can be literary, dramatic, or musical, audio, visual. Any original work of authorship is usually protected by copyright law. And typically, you have an automatic copyright in a work of art as soon as the work is fixed. Fixed also has specific legal definitions, but for these purposes, we're going to say that fixed means that the work has been put in a tangible medium of expression. So tangible can mean that if you have a song, as soon as you put it into your voice memos in your phone, then the song has a copyright. Or if it's a painting or a drawing, as soon as you put it onto a canvas or a piece of paper, it is fixed in a tangible medium of expression. Or maybe you're writing a book. As soon as you put it onto paper or maybe even into your laptop, it is fixed in a tangible medium of expression. You do have a unregistered copyright in your work of art as soon as it is fixed in a tangible medium of expression, but for the greatest protection possible, you want to go ahead and register your copyright with the federal government to protect your work from infringers. So to answer my best friend's question, there is no such thing as a 2-time, 3-time, 20-time change rule. When it comes to creating a work that is entitled to copyright protection, it has to be an original work of authorship. The real test is to see whether an ordinary person, an average Joe, can look at both of the pieces side by side and see if they look the same, and see whether they think that these 2 pieces of art are the same thing. If the person can see too much similarity between the 2 pieces of art, then most likely the second piece has infringed upon the first one. So we really want to be careful when we're coming up with like artwork designs, when we're building brands, whether it's a fashion company, maybe you're writing a book that draws inspiration from another book, you really want to be cautious about taking inspiration too far. If the two pieces side by side look similar, you are in trouble. So that brings me to another question that my friend asked afterwards. He brought up music sampling. So in the world of music, we all know what a music sample is. It's when you take pieces from a song, whether it's the beat of the song or maybe a line from another person's song, to create a new one. And usually music sampling is done by licensing agreements or just asking for permission. Most likely licensing agreements, because it's the business world and you need an agreement, you need everything in writing. So he brought up the fact of music sampling because it's very obvious that when an artist has taken a piece of another song to create a new one. And I often see on YouTube even that there's this myth that only a couple seconds of a song isn't stealing, that it's okay, that it's maybe fair use, or it's okay to sample a melody of a song or beat a line from a song as long as you're not making money off of your new song. That's not the case at all. As far as I know, and as far as copyright law goes, any bit of a song that you use without permission from the owner or without a license agreement is infringing. It doesn't matter if it's just 10 seconds, and it doesn't matter if you make no money off of that song, because the person has original copyright in that song from the moment that it was fixed. The reason that you know about this person's song is because it is fixed in a tangible medium of expression. It is because you've heard it on the radio and it was fixed. It was recorded and distributed, and that person has an automatic copyright in that work. And as I stated in the very first episode of this series, copyrights last a very long time. Copyrights last the length of the artist plus 70 years. And the same goes for collaborations too. So say you have a song where it was two artists that collaborated. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking Ariana Grande and Mac Miller. They were a couple, they had a couple songs together, and the copyright for whatever songs that they've produced together are going to last the length of the last surviving artist plus 70 years. So we know Mac Miller passed away this year in 2019, and he has those songs with Ariana Grande. The songs that he has with her are going to last the length of her life plus 70 years. So unless you're sampling Beethoven or any other classical musician, classical artist, most likely the song that you are attempting to sample is copyrighted and you are infringing. As an artist, that you just want to avoid that kind of trouble anyway. Whether it's a visual art or music art, you have to be careful when it comes to getting inspiration from other sources. I often think about the Pharrell Blurred Lines debacle that happened maybe a couple years ago, where Pharrell and Robin Thicke got in trouble for using Marvin Gaye's song, or I guess similar beat and melody, for their Blurred Lines song. And that turned out to be that Pharrell had to pay $7 million in damages to Marvin Gaye's family because it was too similar. And then he had to also give up 50% of royalties in future earnings. You don't want that to be you. If your song actually blows up and it actually has a sample of another person's song that you did not get permission from, then you're in trouble. You're not going to be making any money off of that song. And why would you want to cut yourself short when you're now starting out? I also think about the Tory Lanez Chicks tapes. I listened to the first couple of Chicks tapes, and as far as I remember, the first ones didn't have artists featured on them. He would sample other musicians' work, but they weren't included into the song itself. And I've noticed now with the Chicks tape, whatever number he's on right now, that every artist that he sampled is actually featured on the song. So it's basically like a remastering of the old popular song from Tory Lanez and the original artist. And that's smart strategy, and most people don't have access or friends who are the big popular artists, but that just goes to show you that permission matters. I think it's also interesting to note that the fashion world doesn't necessarily move like the rest of the art world moves. When it comes to fashion, a lot of times designers get inspiration from each other, and fashion is just not an area that's highly regulated compared to the rest of the art world or compared to music world, because music world is very meticulous about making sure that no one is stealing and making profit off of stolen art. But when it comes to fashion world, we're often inspired by different things. We're inspired by graffiti, we're inspired by other artists' work. And because fashion is so loosely regulated, that's why you'll find a lot of designers are plagiarized by outside companies like China, or even designers are copying each other and just changing a little bit of one thing and calling it a day. A lot of the times you'll find that high fashion companies won't bother going after the little guys when they attempt to steal their designs, but maybe they'll go after people who they find to be a competitive market. Like Gucci will go after Forever 21 because Forever 21 makes a lot of money in the fast fashion world. Or even two powerhouses going at it, like Christian Louboutin going after Yves Saint Laurent for using the Red Sole shoe that I mentioned in episode 1. So the fashion world is really loosely regulated compared to the rest of the art world, and that's why you'll find that designers and a lot of the trends and every item that's coming out looks a lot like each other. So this is probably an area where you can get away with a lot more than you could in music or than you could in maybe art painting world. So that brings us to the end of this video. Hopefully you have a better understanding of how copyright law works and you are able to better distinguish between inspiration versus copying, both in the art world, the music world, and in the fashion world as well. I think as new startups, we're looking for inspiration from outside sources. We're taking in a lot of different materials and ideas, and we just want to be careful that we don't get too close to someone else's intellectual property. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below in the comment section and I will do my best to get back to you on them. If I find that the question is a little bit too specific and it goes a little bit too far into legal advice territory, I will tell you to seek outside counsel. But for the most part, I'll do my best to answer your question, and it's possible that your question can be my next topic. With all of that being said, thank you so much for watching. Like if you enjoyed, share with a new business owner, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.